Me, I don't even care. Pac-12, Pac-8, no Pac. A school that's gonna allow him to play his game because what I've learned is to get to that next level, you have to be on the court.
You trying to go far away from home? Is there a specific coast? East Coast, West Coast?
I would rather stay on the West Coast.
Rather stay on the West Coast? This is something I always wonder about because I've never took a kid to college yet. So as a parent, what are your thoughts as far as he goes to college? You're now in a position you want to go to games. You're dependent on, geographically where he's at. Let's say he goes out to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
I go to Florida to watch the games.
So that's a hard thing though, right? Like
it's hard, but I think as long as you have your partner that understands it.
Yeah.
My wife is very understandable. That's why I can do all the things I could do. You know what I'm saying? Because she'll allow me, she knows it's his time. She's very open and she's supportive. I'm away from home a lot for my little kids, but they don't have that time. And I try to make it up to them when I'm at home and things of that nature. But for me, I have unfinished business.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. It's like figuring that out. And we all go. We all go as a family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We go through that too. So I have a 5-year-old and I have Dante, a 16-year-old. And even with at his level, the tournaments, the summer travel and stuff, you're trying to balance.
You include them where you can.
Yeah.
The shorter trips, you include them. They feel part of it. And then you bring them to the games locally. And then when you go away, it doesn't seem like
FaceTime calls.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're always on FaceTime call every day. Like when we're out of town, he talks to his siblings. So it just makes it more... They're excited. Like my daughter is like this thing, and she's like, he's famous.
Yeah.
She's telling everybody at school, the teachers, my brother is famous. That's awesome. She's like, can I take my phone to school? And I'm like, why? Because I can show my brother.
Oh.
She's also proud. You know what I'm saying? So it's a balance act, but I think as long as there's an agreement and talk through before I married my wife, everything was laid out. I'm one of those guys. I'm very transparent.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you how it is. The good news, you have a decision to make and kind of go from there. So it's been good, man. I got no issues.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my daughter to get to that age because at 5, now that it was good when I was in the stands, but now that I'm on the sidelines, she just wants to be over there.
Oh yeah, because
so I had to stop bringing her because I have to film the game, and she's like the couple games I brought her to, she's just running over, sitting on my lap and stuff. I'm trying to hold her and film the game. That
happens, but she'll like.
I think once she gets
even when my little daughter, she was go to his game, she wanted to go sit on the bench.
Yeah. And you're like, I'm trying to.
It's different. I'm coaching.
Yeah.
Right? But now she gets it.
Yeah. Go into that. So we'll jump right into this. So this is kind of section part 2. I want to focus on, we talked a bit about his journey. I want to talk to you about your journey because you've been a huge impact on him. So I want to talk about you as a man, because you have a certain coaching style, certain parenting style, that has helped him kind of get to the levels that he's at. So I want to try to understand that and what built you into the person you are. So starting just like him at the beginning, talk to me a little bit about your origin story, where you started, how basketball became an important part of your life.
So for me the first sport I played was actually soccer. I was a really good soccer player. Obviously I didn't grow up in the U.S. So I grew up in East Africa. I grew up in Sudan. Shout out to my Sudan people. But I play soccer,
and soccer's different there.
Soccer is different, right? It's
that's the sport.
Yeah, you're playing in it's Survivor over there, right?
Yeah.
So you playing soccer, but when we came to the U.S., I was in 5th grade.
Okay.
Right. So first time I've touched a basketball was the summer of 6th grade. Touched a basketball or seen basketball.
Right.
So I would say the game I was watching was Chicago Bulls versus the Knicks. And Jordan had 45 points, right? And I was like, this is a sport that I know I could be good at.
Right.
And it looks easy. It's not as hard as soccer. So I went to the park and started playing basketball. So that's how kind of the basketball piece of it for me started. And I fell in love with it. And I got really good really quick because of the work I put in. I would be there literally all day at the park kind of working out my game. And then, and I saw kind of the reward of the hard work that I put in. So it was pretty cool to see. But soccer was my first sport. And then basketball is my passion and what I fell in love with.
Elijah, did you ever play soccer?
No.
Not at all. No. Not a chance.
Nah, he would go out there and kick the ball and things of that nature. But nah, he played football and he was a really good football player. So he played receiver and corner.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah, he played really good. But we just turned it to basketball.
So for you, at what point did you let soccer go? At what point did you say, you know what, basketball is it?
I would say when I moved to the US.
Oh, when you moved, you
Yeah.
were like,
I played in I remember I played in, at my school, they had a tournament,
mhm.
and, and they were like, "Hey, I heard you play soccer. You wanna come play soccer?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm good." And the coach bribed me. He bought me some shoes. So, and he said, "We're in the playoffs. I want you to play if you could play." And I went and scored 10 goals in that one game I played. I got the shoes, right?
Yeah.
So after that, I never played soccer.
You're like, done.
It was bugging me for a while to play, but I didn't fall in love with it, you know. So I kind of stuck with basketball.
Then kind of going through. So where did you spend your high school days? In Vegas?
Yeah. So I went to middle school in Vegas.
Middle
I
school?
went to actually 3 middle schools. I went to Von Tobel. I went to Del H, and I went to Ray Martin.
Okay.
So 3 middle schools, and then I went to El Dorado High School and then Chaparral High School. Shout out to Chap and El Dorado. So those are 2 schools that I went to high school here.
What was your give me some details in your high school experience. What was your high school basketball career like?
Yeah, I would say I had the best time in high school.
Yeah.
Literally. I did really well in high school. I would say I was probably one of the top shooters in high school. But for me, you get to a point where you be real with yourself and
Yeah.
say, okay, life hits you after you graduate and you start working and doing things and having a kid,
Having
right?
some
You got to
kids.
take care of your
Yeah.
responsibility. But I had a great time in high school, played sports, I was active. So overall, it was the best experience in high school. I know some people don't feel that way, but for me, it was the best experience I've had.
What would you say are the biggest differences? Like, so you grew up in watching the conference then, and now you see what it is now. Are there any key differences you see between like Las Vegas basketball back then and Las Vegas basketball now?
I would say we had bigger players back then. I would say the kids are more skilled now.
Mhm.
That's just the reality of it. There's more skills. It's a guard driven. I think in the past we had some bigs that had size, but I think we were a lot tougher. Obviously we grew up playing outside, and you know, that made us
Mhm.
right hardcore and tough. But
Right.
the kids now, I wouldn't say they're soft, but there's some of that a little bit in some kids,
Soft.
but they are more skilled now. So there's no way that the stuff that some of the kids are doing, I just look back and I'm like, man, that's incredible. Back then it was a travel or whatever that may be. So it's pretty cool to see kids kind of take the game, evolve it to another level. So
Elijah, how old are you?
18.
Round one, 18 versus 18-year-old dad. How does that game go?
I'm winning. But it's not even 18 is not even a question no more. Like it could
so
have been a question like 15.
so I will tell you,
And dad,
I,
do you
I was
agree?
oh yeah. I mean I stopped. I would say when he got to high school, it was over for me.
He's
It's not even
His-
winning. It's like
His freshman, his
demolishing.
freshman year, it was
It was just
over for
different.
me. But before that, I was undefeated. So I'm
How
just
do you
gonna
that's
stick to that.
that's a good question. How do you handle that as a parent? Because there's that point with your kids from a sports standpoint, from a strength standpoint, when they're bigger than you, stronger than you play. How do you handle that as far as like once they know they can beat you?
You cheat. You make up your own rules, change your rules, right? So that's what you do, right? So for me, it's like, no, we didn't say 12. We were going to
Then
go
we
to
go to
15. What are
15.
you talking about? That's a foul.
Right.
I was 5 feet
call
away from
fouls.
you.
Right.
It's a foul. Respect my call. So no, I mean he's quicker, stronger. It's not even close. It's like I don't even try.
Yeah.
It's funny at my school. The other kids I've played, I think all of them 1-on-1.
Mhm.
I have not lost any of them
Yeah,
yet.
he'd be smacking
All of them, still to this day. And I'm overweight,
Who-
out of
who you-
shape.
He played somebody for money to he had dread to cut their hair and he won, but
Yeah, I just do that to
Yeah,
the kids.
just,
I tell them, hey, I'll buy you shoes if you beat me.
Yeah.
And if you lose, you got to shave your head.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm testing you to see if you really believe in yourself.
Right.
That's the first step. If you're like, nah, I don't want to do that. Let's bet something else. That tells me you don't believe in yourself. That's first step. And then if you're brave enough to say, hey, you know what? I'm in. I'm going to get a pair of shoes, and all I got to do is shave my head. Like, I'm not going to shave my head.
Right.
I'm going to still play you. I'm going to beat you.
Right.
You don't have to shave your head. It was just a test.
Funny how the older you get, and Elijah, you'll learn this with age. Like you're still the same person in your head. So sometimes Dante, I'll go to their little practices and stuff, and I'm like, I got about 5 plays in me on defense, and I'll jump on the court, D him up, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, y'all ain't got it. Y'all ain't ready yet."
Nah.
But it's like in our heads as older people, like, we're still
Young or
yeah,
whatever.
I can still dunk, I can still windmill, like, in my head.
Yeah.
You still think you can do that same stuff. And I remember, like, when Dante was playing with West Coast, we were at a park a couple times, I would race them. I did track in high school, it was really fast. I think maybe his 8th grade year, it was with DJ Ty, I saw them when they were, younger, beating them, smoking them. You give it another year or 2, and you because
Yeah.
again, in your head, "Yeah, I'm still as fast," and then once you see them beat you, it does something to you a little bit where you're like,
No,
"Ah,"
it,
like,
it, it does. I think it feels like, when we were younger, you hear old head tell you, man, when I was younger, I used to do this.
didn't
Until
listen.
you get to that, become that
Until you
old head.
become that
Yeah. And then you believe it. But for
yeah,
me is, I don't play obviously as much as at all because
right.
I'm in my off time. I'm training him or the team that I'm
Yeah,
coaching and stuff like that. But I'm still a dog inside,
yeah,
right? So don't get it twisted.
yeah,
Like if sometimes you got to check some of these kids that think
yeah,
they could play, and the difference now is a lot of kids talk. Some of them talk, but they can't back it up. So for
right.
me, is if you're engaged in my nonsense of talking smack to you,
Mhm.
you're gonna get out of your game. I'm only
Yeah,
gonna be motivated to be even better, right? So a lot of them can't talk and play at the
yeah,
same time. So that's my advantage as well because I can talk with the best of them
yeah.
and back it up. And then where you're trying to get caught up in the moment, and then you kind of get distracted from what matters the most.
Yeah, I told Dante and his little buddies that all the time. I'm like, "If you can't handle this old, bald 37-year-old," I'm like, "You guys have no chance, like, at a college level on a real court against, like, real players who are doing this every
Yeah,
day."
that's for real.
So kinda looking at, transitioning out of being a player in the sport and more on the coaching, mentor, back end side, like, what was that transition like for you? I think some people are naturally leaders in that sense. Like, I think I was watching Mark Jackson talk about it, Steve Kerr about, like, some players just have it where, not every great player can transition
Mm.
into being, like, a coach, being able to lead men, being able to take young men and mold them into who they need to be. Like, what told you early on that, like, you had that in you to be able to do that?
For me, I would say in 8th grade, the coach I had, I was named team captain, and I've always took the initiative. Like I've always felt like I carried myself like I was the best player in the world. Like it didn't matter who was on the team that's better than me. I felt like I was the best player in the world. No one could guard me. That's the
Yeah.
mentality I had. But I always tried to encourage and motivate my teammates. Right. So I was a team captain. I led practices, stretches, team meetings with our coaches. So I've done that in high school. I've done it in like middle school and high school. I knew naturally, and all the coaches that I've had told me that I could be a coach one day, that I'm going to be a coach. So for me, I've always felt like I had that natural leadership, that I can lead people and lead them in the right way, and they trust what I say. Because one thing about me is, I know Elijah mentioned this earlier. Part of his leadership is he leads by example,
Mm,
and that's how I've always been. I've always led by example. I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself, and I try to be the best in every little thing. So there's nothing that you can hold over my head. And then the other piece of it is really is if you're the guy, even in business world, right? If you're leading by example and you're able to do every aspect of the work or the business, it's hard for anyone to have anything over your head,
right.
right? So
Yeah.
I can do your job and I could do it better, right? So and that's how I felt when I played, and I had really good mentors, man. That's why I try to keep the mentors and helping me get better at what I do. And coming to be a coach was
Mhm.
actually natural for me, pretty easy.
So you have kind of now you have the parent side, you have the coaching side, but you also have the business side. So I feel like you're kind of that three-tiered player, coach, person. So talk to me about that and how, you know, being a coach, having the chosen few program, and then also like the business side as well. Like how do you balance that dynamic of all those different pieces? Because you're leading a family, you're leading a son through his journey, you're leading a team through their journey, and you're also leading on the business side. Like how do you kind of balance all those?
For me, is you just put everything in perspective, right? At the end of the day, is I try to do the right thing and try to do my best in everything, and I feel like I can handle more than the average person,
Hmm.
and I can wear many hats, and I don't get overwhelmed. I don't stress about nothing. That's what I think. I don't stress about nothing. If I can't control it, I'll let God handle it, right? So I try not to stress, but I feel like I have a bigger capacity than most people, so I can play different roles and be and have success, right? Coaching for me is my way of kind of giving back and teaching
Right.
the next generation, not just my son, but other kids. Um, it's not. I love what I do. Same thing in my real life work. I try to help inspire people to be better than what they were the day before. So to me, when you have that mentality, you're doing it for the right reasons.
Hmm.
People gravitate to you, and you naturally find success because your intentions are well, and you're doing it for all the right reasons. So for me, it's I could wear two more hats and still have success because I'm one of those people that feel like no matter what I do, I can be good at it and be the best at it because I'm gonna put the work in. And that's the mentality I think that he follows too is he doesn't look at anybody else above him. He always look at I could do anything anybody does because I know I'm putting the work. And that's the mentality you got to have in that nowadays to be successful.
So, what does a day to day life look like for you as far as like, I think of the best way to phrase that? Because I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot to juggle, right? Like, and you're having to not commit equal time, but make sure that everyone gets a little bit of you. Everyone feels valued. Everyone is, has you when they need you, right? How do you go about like targeting that every day of like, are you scheduling, or do you have like a firm routine that you stick to where you're like, I know I gotta do X, Y, and
Yeah,
Z?
I am very organized,
Yeah.
extremely
You have to
organized.
be to do all that.
Yeah, I'm very organized, extremely and I'm punctual,
Mhm.
dependable. Those are the things, qualities that I have. So I'm able to kind of multitask and do my daytime job and my career is important to me and finding success in what I do. And then on my off time, I'm in the gym.
Yeah.
I'm in the lab, working on my son, working on other kids, and then finding time for my three other kids. And I got a 6-year-old, 4, and a 3. Find success for the family, the wife, and I try to incorporate everything.
Mhm.
I'm always busy, right? So there's never a adult moment for me. 7 days a week, my weekends are jam packed. Obviously, I spent majority of my weekdays working my daytime job, but any free time I have, I'm in the gym, I'm in the lab, and that's what I enjoy doing. I don't vacation anywhere, right? My vacation is in the gym, so I think that's part of my success is that I'm able to kind of manage time according to what I need to get done.
Elijah, what do you take from your dad's work ethic? I think that that's something that even without it's something that he doesn't have to give to you verbally. I feel like
Yeah.
that's one of those things where just as I watch you, like you can just watch, and I'm sure like through your life you've picked up on like it's leading by example. You've seen
Mhm.
the work that he puts in, and it's something that I feel like is easily I'm gonna trying to use a big word. Easily replicatable. That's I don't know if that's a real word, but we're gonna use it. If you put in the work, right? Like he can just show you like this is what you
Mhm.
need to do. And as long as you're willing to put in the work and do it, he's laid out the blueprint. Like the foundation's there. Have you taken anything from like what you've seen him do kind of as a man, as a father, as a coach, and like implemented that into like your like hard work?
Yeah, I'll say is he never stresses, he's always calm. So I'll say that aspect of it, like anything could come up that people around him would get like stressed out or about business and anything, but he just always stay calm, always stay collected, and just like never stressing like, okay, what we're gonna do about it now. And he like kind of leads his people like business, coaching, whatever. Like we're down in the game. He's like always so calm talking to us. So just like little stuff like that, always staying calm and always know like giving it like just always like giving off the impression like you have it under control.
So, when you look at your career so far, kind of in the sports space in Las Vegas, like what are some career highlights and milestones that stick out? Some achievements where you felt validated of like, we put in all this hard work, we've reached this level. Like, I feel good about where we are. Is there anything that like sticks out?
For me, honestly, it's all about the kids. I don't really look at for me milestone or success for me as an individual. I always look at did we give the kids everything that we have, right? Did we get them to where did we help them reach their potential?
Hmm.
Did we get them in colleges? So for me, when I see kids get a scholarship offer, that's rewarding. That's a milestone that I enjoy and watch success of that. So for me, it's all about the kids and helping the kids get better. And I helped a lot of kids locally. I just don't post any of that on social media because I,
Right.
I don't do it for those reasons. I do it because I naturally want to help kids. But to me, that's when I get a parent that says, "Hey, thank you," is because you, my son, got X, Y, and Z. To me, I don't have to put that on social media. I
Yeah.
know you and I know that I helped your son and I did it for the right reasons, and we won't keep it at that and keep moving because there's other kids that need the support and help. So for me, I don't look at my success. I always look at the kids around me. Success is the way to kind of go as an adult. 'Cause it's not about us now. It's about the next generation and how do we put them in position to be successful and achieve their dreams.
I think that's a powerful attitude to have, especially in the space that we're in of like everything has to be broadcast. Like, oh, I'm going to a donation drive. Let me make sure I bring the camera, live stream it and put it out. That there are still people out there that are doing good work and don't have to always look for the accolades. And again, it's nice when it comes, but I think, and I agree with that, when you do things for the right reason first, instead of kind of leading into it, trying to gain recognition and awards and stuff, I think you end up going farther. And I think it's just as rewarding, if not more rewarding, when you get those personal relationships with
Mhm.
people. Like you said, the mom that tells you, like, hey, you really helped us. Just knowing that individually, you're like, nobody else needs to know.
Yeah.
I don't need to get that from anybody else. I need, she gave me the pat on the back that meant enough.
What's understood don't need to be said.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day is always do things for the right reasons and everything else will work itself out. And there's too many people that's looking for clicks and likes and
Mhm.
right, I'm doing this. Look at me. I just had this meal, right? That's not me. That's never been me. I'm very private.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know a lot about me, right? Because I keep myself private and I put things in perspective because it's not about me. So that's one thing I've learned early is when you make it about you, then you takes away from what you're trying to achieve or accomplish. So I kind of keep things in perspective.
And I will give you that credit. So for a portion of first joining the basketball scene in the journey, I didn't know you were his dad.
No one,
Like
it's
no
let-
idea. Not
you know,
so you weren't treating him special, and I like there was no signs of like
No.
favoritism or
No,
I had
that-
no idea.
let
Somebody
me
told
tell
me
you-
I was like
Fun- the
Abdul?
funny, let me
Like,
tell you, but that
I
has
was
so
like,
many
the
funny
guy who has no hair like me.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I just got a lot of hair. Like,
But it's funny. It's funny you mention that, right? It's been happening since I've been coaching him.
yeah,
We would go to a game. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, the dad is the coach, right?" And we'll be traveling somewhere in a tournament, and a parent would come, right? And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, his son must be number X,"
So-
and it's not even my
and it's
son.
not even him.
So after the game, they'd be like, "Oh, your son is." I was like, "That's not my son."
yeah,
And they're like, "Who's your son?" And I'll be like, "Number 31." They're like, "That's your son?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah."
Also, because I look better than him, so they
Yeah.
can't really tell.
But yeah, I always try to. Yeah, that's let it tell. When in my days, I was,
He a little too
you know,
too dark.
I always try to create environment with my coaching where every kid feel valued and appreciated. I feel like there's enough for everyone.
Mhm.
And for me, I always believe is I don't have to tell you he's certified. You're gonna know he's certified in practice,
Yeah.
in games, when he's facing an opponent. You're gonna know that. So I don't have to say that. So people will be like, "That's your son." I'm like, "Yeah." Why you say that? Well, what am I supposed to say? Hey, I'm Elijah's dad.
Right.
You're talking about him, and I'm gonna okay. And then at the end, I'll say, "Hey, by the way, clear disclosure, that's actually my son." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Why do you say that?" But I'm not looking for a
Yeah, you don't
special
have to
treatment.
influence the decision.
Yeah, I don't want
You're like,
to influence
yeah.
any decision. I don't want to because I want raw, real feedback.
Yeah.
And the feedback's always been positive, but it's just and when I coach him hard. I coach him just like any other kid.
Yeah.
Right. That's just the bottom line. I think, and that's where sometimes when some people, right, when they feel like, oh, the dad is the coach, they feel like the kid is going to get special treatment. Nah, if your
Right.
son is certified and he's that guy, you don't have to say he's that guy. Everyone around is going to say
That's it.
that guy. So to me, is you could still be a dad coach, and your son can have success, and everybody else on the team can eat as well if you're doing it the right way and for the right reasons. So I try to always use that approach to say everyone deserves, and let's figure out how we can promote every kid.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I may put you in a situation to be successful. What you do with it is up to you. Everyone has equal opportunity. And if you don't have a good game, that's not anybody's
Yeah.
fault, but you just figure out how you can get better the next game. So that's always been my mentality.
That is one interesting thing I'll say, just unrelated, like that I've been trying to learn through is not injury, but I mean injuries too. Like when you watch a documentary or something, they have everything, right?
Yeah.
So for example, like I traveled with Vegas Elite this summer. went to Peach Jam, 17U, lost in a championship game. I've now grown a relationship with players, coaches. It's super awkward to film.
Yeah.
And I didn't really. I kind of like shut it off. But then again, when you tell the story, now I don't have any of that
Yeah.
film once you get to that part of the story. But it is, as a camera person or whatever, it's awkward when
When they're
somebody
crying
gets
or whatever.
hurt, when
Yeah.
somebody's crying when they lose, but knowing like you have to get that, but still value the relationship, the
Yeah.
space. Cause I like, for me, I don't care about the content, but I know when I tell that story and that journey, and especially for me, I'm always thinking comeback. It's not about putting
Yeah.
the end of the story here, but I know because I've had a couple times now when I'm telling the comeback story where I go back to find the footage of the loss and I cut it as soon as the game ends. I don't have you go into the locker room, the coach giving that speech because I'm overly like respecting everybody.
Yeah.
But then when you do have that, like when you watch a like documentary and you have that like
Yeah,
Well,
those
you
are
know
builds
the
up.
what?
moments.
You know why is because when you get a documentary, you already made it.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Right? And when you're trying to make it, people may look at it a
A
certain
certain
way,
way. Yeah.
but when you're already a pro, it don't matter what you show.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, he already
He already
signed.
made it.
He made
Yeah.
it. It don't matter. So that's why.
Yeah, because like I was watching on Netflix, like the Last Chance U, and
Yeah.
it's what makes it so powerful are all those memories of the fights, them losing, the
Yeah.
crying. Like
Yeah.
if you don't have that, the
Mm.
story sucks. So I just like tell myself that like you got to respect the boundaries and everything, but also you got to
Yeah.
get this because it's gonna be when they do make it, like it's part of the
Mm.
journey.
I think losing is not a big to me is like if you filmed them a team losing
Yeah.
and everyone is devastated, that's part of the story.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to build something up to say, hey, this is where we came from. Look, because usually when that happens, there's a positive to the
That
story.
comes after.
The end of the movie is always
Yeah.
them hanging on to the trophy or
But I
something.
do see the opposite though, where there's camera people
Yeah.
like in their face and stuff, where it's like, yo, you gotta like sometimes
Give 'em-
let
yeah,
people like
de-escalate.
back to
The
so just
question.
as a parent and a coach, seeing Elijah kind of go through, and not even just the moment of the injury, but going through that recovery period, that's tough for any young man, as I mentioned with him, like or adult to go through. Like, what was it like for you watching him go through that journey and then helping him like as a support system to like keep him positive and focused and letting him know like, hey, there's another side to
Yeah.
this. As soon as you get out, like it's gonna be, it's all gonna be worth it.
For me, honestly, is when he got hurt, I knew he was hurt because he didn't get up, right? So, but going through the rehab, I never doubted that he'll become back stronger and better because he's a warrior, man. He's built different. He's wired different. I've seen it firsthand.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? A bloodline is we don't quit on nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I knew he's going to come back stronger, more sharper, better than he's ever been. And because he's going to put in the work. Just watching him go through rehab, tough times, watching film of his games, critiquing his game, watching pros and picking out things. So he might have missed the season,
Hmm.
but he really didn't miss the season, if you
Right.
know what I mean. I think his mentally got sharper from a basketball standpoint and just in life. And he's just a warrior, man. So, some guys are built different. And I always told him since he was a kid, no one is built like you. Like we're different. Like there's nothing that's gonna get us down.
Yeah.
We're gonna find a way to kind of be successful. And that's the mentality he had and doing two a day and putting shots up. So I think it's naturally for him to get to where he needs to be at. So I don't think the family ever doubted anything.
Hmm.
We always knew that we can't wait to see the end of the movie.
I'm gonna go to the next question, but I still can't get past this memory.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. I have a physical memory of the fast break of Bishop Gorman, of you dunking, and of you getting
Because you know
hurt.
why? It was a big deal again. We played Mater Day.
Yeah.
You were there, and we were like,
I gotta watch the film.
and it's funny, we were
I
like,
feel crazy.
we didn't get it.
Yeah.
No one got that film.
Yeah.
And guess who was right there?
Yeah.
You. And you gave us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And you sent it literally like I think before the game ended. I
Yeah.
got the dunk.
I'm just trying to reconcile in my head
Yeah.
a memory that isn't real.
Yeah.
I've heard that before. I forgot what it's called. I remember like in Psych 101 in college, they talk about there was this thing they like this like this exercise you do where you show somebody a picture of people at a gas station and it has like a red car, a bike, or something. And then you like wait 5 minutes and you ask them like what color was the car. and the people like make up colors, or they'll say like the color of the
Yeah.
bike, or they'll add stuff in it. Like your memory
Playing tricks.
isn't as good as we think it is.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I built this entire like I took two memories
And put them
and I
together.
kind of like fused them into one. And you're like, it's not Bishop Gorman. I'm like, no, he got hurt at Bishop Gorman. I could see it. I remember
Yeah.
it. Anyways,
That's funny.
it's tripping me out. I feel like I'm in Matrix. But so we want to talk about like influence and impact. So your role on the community as a whole. So now outside of Spring Valley, just talk to me about what you bring to the community as far as again, because I think there are certain situations where there are coaches and teams that have like small circles. I feel like you are one of those people that has influence across players of different teams, different organizations, where you're not just a part of one program. I feel like you're one of those coaches, trainers, mentors, influences that kind of like spans and kind of breaks those boundaries. Talk about why that's a part of like why that's important to you.
Well, it's important to me because people trust me, and I always try to do the right thing, right? I don't try to screw anyone. I don't try to take advantage of anyone or any situation. So I try to be a good person. And the fact that I'm able to have an impact, or I can have a conversation with different program leaders or high school coaches,
Mhm.
and at some point have some type of influence in a positive way to help that situation, it to me means a lot. It just means that I stand for something. And I always try to do the right thing, man. At the end of the day, is our city get bad rep, right? Because if we have one or two guys that come at me do it the wrong way,
Right.
but there's so many coaches in high school and AU coaches that do things for the right reason. Their heart and mind is at the right place. The execution might not be the way you expect it,
Mhm.
but they're doing it for the right reason. And for me, I always look past the BS and say, you know what? I know so and so is trying to do it the right way. Or you may give somebody advice, right? You see someone going sideways, or maybe the perception out there may not doing it the right way, and just give them an input. Like, hey, just I know that's your program, but here's kind of what the temperature out there is. Just giving you that so you can do whatever you want to do with it. So for me, it means a lot that I get respected by my peers and across the city, and I feel like I can make an impact in the community. It just goes a long way, man.
And I think that's one of the first times I was introduced to you. So you put on some pretty large tournaments, like pretty large events in the city. And that again, everyone is kind of like included in and participates in. Like when did you start doing those? And like how has that helped like build those like that foundation, those relationships?
Yeah, I used to run events years ago, tournaments, like on a weekend or whatever that may be, and then I
Hmm.
stopped for a while, and then I picked that up, doing it again. But I have a lot of teams, and I have good relationship with coaches, not just locally, but I had teams from Canada, Spain come to the tournament. So I have a huge network
Hmm.
of the basketball community. So I always, when I throw an event, we usually have a waiting list
Right.
on our event, right? We have like 15 to 20 teams that I can't put in the tournament because of capacity, right? So to me that just means that I've done things the right way, and people respect what I do, and I try to support anyone that's doing an event as well. So I try to help anyone that I can. So to get that love back, it's always good to get that.
So because you've done the coaching side, you kind of mentioned you did events previously, kind of took a pause, started it back. Have you seen your role evolve like with what you're doing in the community as far as certain things that maybe impacted more or less? Have you put your time into doing more where so for example, like you're not just a trainer.
Mhm.
I think you touch so many different pieces from like events, coaching, training. Is there over time have you leans more into one or the other, or could you kind of like balance across just based on like what's most important or what's like first on the plate?
I would say balance across. I understand the when it comes to basketball, the most important thing is just giving kids opportunity to be seen, heard, by college coaches. So I try to do that as much as I can, create a platform where they can do that. There's a lot of things that I do that I don't talk about because it doesn't need to be talked about, and just that's between myself, the parent, or the kids, or the coaches. But I always try to go where I'm needed, and where I feel like I can make an impact in a positive way. And if I feel like I can't make an impact in the situation, I don't get involved. I'm not chasing money. I'm not chasing clicks. I'm not none of
Right.
that stuff. So for me, it's if I don't believe it in my heart that it's the right thing, or I'm doing it for the right reason, and it can impact somebody in a positive way, I don't do it.
So I asked Elijah kind of what he was working on to get better. So I'm gonna ask you the same thing. going to be fair and balanced. Like personally, what are the things that you're looking to either improve on, take the next step or next level to as far as your personal career and what you're doing kind of with the community and in the space?
I would say professionally, continue to find success and continue to develop the team that I work with. I enrolled back in school, so I'm getting my MBA in December.
Okay.
So that's a huge accomplishment for me, at least. Getting a bachelor and kind of getting my MBA now.
You know, when you ask an athlete, you say kind of like, "What are your weaknesses? What do you need to get better on?" "Oh, my left hand, my this, my this,
Yeah.
my this." As a professional, same in the same
Uh-huh.
say. So, like one of the things I try to do, and I try to tell Dante all the time, is I'm always trying to improve and become better, like all around,
Mhm.
whatever it is. I always say there was a saying, I'm not going to say it right. Like I'm not always right, but I'm always right. Like I always want to be on the right side of things, and I always want to like improve and evolve,
Yeah.
whatever that is. So, like I think as a parent, as a professional, as a worker, there's always something I can do to like
Yeah.
take that next step. So is there anything where you're like outside of, because I think the NBA thing is huge. And I think obviously the work you put into that and that concentration and focus impacts everything. But is there anything specifically with like either the coaching or things that you're like, if I could do this better, if I could um gain more resource in this space, it's only going to help like my program, my kids, etc. Any like a goal you have or something you're working towards there?
For me, I always try to better myself, right? I think as a leader, we're not a finished product. We have so much growing up to do, so much maturity when it comes to just leading men, right? Leading people in general. So I always try to read and educate myself on different aspect of the business so I can stay in the know of what's going on. So there's not a subject that you would come to me and says, "Hey, this was going on that I didn't read about or
Right.
seen on TV or whatever that may be." So I always try to be a student of what's going on, not just with basketball, just in general, right? The business side of it, life. So I think that's been the hunger, and I have mentors, right? So I think it's important to for you to find success and to find that higher gear to where you want to get to
Mhm.
is you have people that influence you, that inspire you to be better. So I have mentors that are in higher places, right? That influence me and keep it real with me when I feel like I
Yeah.
made it. They were like, "No, you haven't
Yeah.
made it. Yet. You got a long way to go."
Mhm.
And I'm a very humble individual. Like I'm confident in what I do and
Mhm.
everything I do. I'm confident because I feel like I put in the work. But I'm humble. I don't throw anything in people's face. I have success in different aspects in what I do, but it's not you don't need to know about it. As the thing today is I'm just gonna continue working, trying to get better as a person and to try to be a better leader, uh, professionally, personally, and then in my community. That's my goal is just to try to be the best that I can be.
So if you had to think or call out like one or two like mentors or people in your support system that are kind of in that upper tier, upper echelon, who would you put in there for people that have helped you become the person that you are today?
First will be my mother. I feel like my mom has she's 76 years old. She's seen a lot. She's the most humble, hardworking individual. So for me, is I've always tried to learn from my mother and what she does. Right, so she's a big influence in what I do and just in my life. Right, and then I've been lucky enough to have siblings that are either younger, older. I try to learn from my siblings. So I try to keep everything in house and try to learn because at the end of the day, once you learn hard work when single mom raising 10 kids, right? You see the work that she put in.
Mhm.
That's inspiring,
Yeah.
and you want to be the best that you could be, so you have no excuse. So I'm one of those guys that don't make excuses. I don't complain. I don't stress about nothing, because at the end of the day is you got to put, if you want results, you got to put in work.
Yeah.
So for me is I would say my mother is probably the most influential person in my life.
Tell him where he was born.
Yeah. So you mentioned it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Your mother also from
Yeah, so I'll tell you. So I'm Eritrean, 100% Eritrean. I was
Okay.
born in East Africa,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of people don't know that,
Yeah.
right? So 100%. I speak multiple languages.
I
Speak
was
three
gonna
languages,
I was
right?
gonna ask you because you don't have an accent, you don't have
I
any.
do. I'm proud Eritrean. We have a large, actually, in the Habesha community here in Vegas, but I'm 100% Eritrean. I just don't talk about. I'm very private, right?
Right.
So people don't know that about me. I speak multiple language. So Elijah is half Eritrean, right? So and people don't know that.
Yeah, they
Sometimes
don't
it'd be a
believe me.
surprise. They'd be like, "Yeah, he's half Eritrean. He's Habesha, right?" They'd be like, "What? What is
I
that?"
bet.
Habesha,
Does
right?
Elijah know any other language?
I think he
He's
what I
a
think
So
little
what
picked up a little
not
bit
not like
here.
fluent, but I
no,
know like
You can,
yeah.
I could tell like when my grandma's talking to me,
yeah,
I could tell like what she's saying, like
yeah,
what she wants me to do. So
yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, he
Grounded.
does. Yeah. He's no, he's half. So he
Yeah,
my mother doesn't speak English, so
yeah.
she speaks in Tigrinya. So when she talks to him, he
You
can
got to
hear
pick
it.
up.
Sometimes it's
Yeah,
hard for
yeah.
him to kind of respond, but that's one thing they don't know about my background. So I think my humbling where I come from a third world country.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you're sharing one piece of bread amongst the family, and that stuff is different. So to me,
Right.
is the struggle that I went through as a child growing up humbles you,
It's a little different
and it's a
than the
little different,
problems.
right?
Of,
And you
yeah.
learn. Hmm?
In the force.
Yeah. What it does, honestly, it teaches you hard work.
Yeah.
And your motivation is different. My motivation always been different than most of my peers, right?
Hmm.
Because I come from nothing, right? So for me is to be able to take care of my family the way I take care of my family. That's been my motivation. Trying to find success or get to a place where I'm able to take care of the kind of the pack, right? Because we come deep as Eritreans, but that's why my mother is my biggest inspiration, who inspires me to be the best that I could be.
So Elijah, I'm gonna throw one to you.
Mhm.
It's on the podcast. I feel like this is your dad's already put his hand on the Bible. He said, "I'm gonna tell the truth, the whole truth, all that." So I'm
Mhm.
gonna give you the opportunity to ask him a question on the record. Is
Okay.
there anything that you have that you wanna put out there that you
Mm.
wanna ask him about that he's gotta come forward as on the spot one, give you a
When
chance.
when did you know that you couldn't guard me? No, I was playing. No, for real question, for real.
That's funny.
When you was going through your like, coming like from Africa, like to Vegas, like whole different scenery. So like from you adjusting and you finding a way to live here and like provide because you had to provide for me, for my grandma, for like my uncles, your siblings. So how did you like kind of take on that dad role so well and like step up to the plate?
Damn, that's a good
That's
one.
deep.
That's deep. For me, I felt like when I was young, I grew up fast. When you grow up in a third world country, you don't have a choice but to grow up fast. You know what I mean? It's like there's no
Yeah.
bottles, right?
Yeah.
There's none of that, right? So, like for me, I grew up fast. I've always felt like the quicker that I can get to a place where I'm able to take care of my family, the better that we'll be as a family, right?
Mhm.
So I always try to work hard in everything that I do to try to provide for my family. So was it challenging? Yeah, it was a challenge, right? You're coming from a third world country, not speaking the language. I mean, I learned. Here's the crazy part about it, and people are gonna be like, "What?" I've learned my ABCs in fifth grade. I learned my ABCs in fifth grade. Couldn't speak until I
Yeah.
was in sixth grade. English, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So coming from a third world country, that's real,
Yeah.
right? You're over there learning the native language, right? Arabic and Tigrinya and all that. But I learned my ABCs in the fifth grade, right? And that's crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me is to get to where I'm at, and obviously there's a long way to go. The one thing that stood out for me has always been it's hard work. I don't shy away from hard work.
Mhm.
When I want something, I'm gonna get it because I'm gonna put in the work. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I try to teach Elijah is people are gonna say this and people are gonna say that. But at the end of the day is what are you gonna do about it?
Right.
Like you control you and how hard you work. And that's what I think about me is I work hard in everything I do and I go 100%. So yeah, that's a good question there, buddy.
Right. We got a new podcast host over here, Elijah.
Yeah,
Well, man, I
asking
should
deep
yeah,
questions,
asking
man.
deep
Had
questions.
me in tears.
So, Elijah, when we're looking at kind of our support system and people who've kind of built us up and been a part of this journey, when we're looking starting with the basketball space, who are those primary players, whether it's coach, trainer, that have kind of helped you kind of reach the levels that you're at?
I want to start off with my uncle. So I'll say my uncle Awet, Coach Awet. He helped me get to where I'm at. Always checking up on me, hitting me up. He was the main one in my ear. And I want to give shout out to Auntie Jamila. She's been in my ear too, always hitting me up. Just make sure I'm doing good, like mentally, and telling her she proud of me. Also, my auntie Samira is back in Texas. Um, Terrell, my trainer Terrell is like a big brother to me. He's always been looking out for me. Even though he coaches at a different school, he coaches at Shadow, but he's
Mhm.
still like still helps me out. Still, even like when I'm playing against him, he'll talk to me after the game, telling me like what I should have done here and there to just make sure like I'm always good. And last but not least, my mom. She's always been there for me. She does all the underground work, the stuff you don't see. She's been there with me since day one. My injury when I couldn't walk, she'll bring stuff to me. She'll take off work. She's always working to make sure I'm good. She's working 2 jobs. That's why she couldn't be here today. And she's always make sure that I'm set up in life no matter what, and I'm getting the best opportunity she could give me as a parent.
So what has that meant to you having her, because you have two parents kind of fighting different battles for you, right? You have your dad who's especially on the basketball side, right? Leading the coaching efforts, the training, like on the ground, 100%. Then you have the mom that isn't on the court with you, but that's leading that effort from another front, right? It's like the war of two fronts, like building you as a man, helping you take care of the emotional growth and the things you need to do to build yourself. Like, what has it meant to you to have such strong kind of pillars in both spaces where you're not lacking in either area?
It shows me that like anything's possible, like because the backgrounds they came up from, like they shouldn't be here today. So coming where they're from, with not such good, my dad didn't have really a good dad, so that, and my mom didn't really have a good dad either. So just stuff like that, and they're making sure they like use that to be the best parent they could be to me. Is really motivating and like shows me that anything is possible. Like from it doesn't matter where you come from. Like if you want it, you could go get it, and that's what they like installed in
So, although you don't have kids yet, what
me.
positive, like, what do you think from what you've learned from them and their parenting styles and what they've kind of imprinted on you? What do you think you take away from that that's going to kind of impact the parent that you'll be and kind of how you treat and judge others?
Mm, good question. Um, Probably from letting my kid know when I have a kid, like from a young age, that nothing's gonna be given to you. Like you're gonna have to work for anything. Like say it be like they want a new toy or something. I'll probably have them like, okay, what are you gonna do for me to be able to get that toy? Like do little chores and stuff around the house. Just like knowing like that's how life is. Nothing just like is handed to you. You have to work for everything. So that and just knowing that you could be anything you want to be in life, with God and you staying humble and staying true to you and just putting in that hard work, you could just be who you want.
So, Dad, do you agree with all this? I think one of the common core themes that I've heard through this entire journey in the conversation is hard work across mom, across dad, and now kind of given to him. It seems like he's been able to sponge that from both sides. Like, I'm assuming you're going to agree with that because I think you guys both
Yeah.
embody that hard work mentality of you have to earn it. You have to kind of, again, especially coming from the background that you came from, that comes first. And then everything else, like your success, the rewards, the fruits all come because you put that in.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I couldn't have said it any better. I think once you learn hard work, regardless of what field you're in, what you're trying to accomplish. Once you learn that it's going to take work, and I'm not going to shy away from the work, right? Sometimes what happens is you can enjoy the process, the success that you have, the milestones.
Mhm.
But the one thing has to stay consistent, there's no shortcut. There's no elevator to success.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to take the stairs. When you have that mentality of, I'm going to work hard regardless of what I'm doing. I could be at McDonald's. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to be the best
The
cashier
best fry
possible.
cook
I mean,
in the
you just
world.
got to have
Yeah.
that mentality. When you work hard, it just makes life so much easier for you, and you'll get the success that you want and the reward that you want because of the labor. Because I think a lot of times what happens is people want the success and want the results, but they're not willing to put the work in.
Yeah.
And I think to me that's a setup for disaster. So, but to me, it's the other way around. That's why I install on him is work hard and then be able to hang your head at the end of the night and says, I gave it everything I got. If you fall short, there's nothing to worry about because you did everything you can. But I'm confident if you work hard and do everything you can, you're gonna get success. So I think that's pretty good. And his mom, I know he talked about it, but she does a lot in the back end as well, and she's been extremely supportive. Co-parenting
Mhm.
is very critical to the kid's success. And Elijah he's been lucky to have two parents that are on the same page, understand that we both love our son, and we're gonna do everything we can for him to make sure that he reaches potential. And for me being away from home, and my wife and my kids, and my wife telling me, hey, you know what, I get it. It's he's up right now, and let's do whatever we can to help him. That goes a long way. So I think everyone is on the same page of trying to give our kids the best possible opportunity possible. So I think that goes a long way.
All right. Good message for kids out there. Hard work. Nothing good comes easy. I think that's important, right? I think it's hard sometimes when people just see the end product. If you pick up on his story right now, journey looks easy. He's a great player, can do all these things, and they didn't see everything it took to get to this point. I think people forget like everyone starts at the same point. We're all
Mhm.
born, and some people might have a little bit more height, a little bit more talent, a little bit more strength, but the journey is the same. You have to build like there's very few people in the world from business point, sports
Mhm.
aspect that just have it. And even the people you think that just one day woke up and became LeBron James or Bill Gates, they didn't. They had to like climb that road. And I think especially like hearing stories like this, I think remind people of the humanity in all of us, like what we all go through. We all have similar, if not the same problems. We all go
Mhm.
through challenges. And like sometimes you'll just see him on the court, you'll watch a highlight. And, for kids watching him that want to emulate that might think like, I can just play video games all tonight and I'm going to wake up and be Elijah. Like, you can't. Like, you have to, and getting to hear this, I think lets people know, like, now when they're thinking about that 5 a.m. workout, they're like, he was doing it. Okay, I got to do it too. And I think that helps.
You know what I'm saying? I was gonna say it's not even like it's hard work too, but it's like having fun while doing it.
Yeah.
Like I think that's what mostly I try to do. Like me and my dad, we like to joke around a lot. Me and my teammates wake around in the morning, just have fun because you're not here forever. And you don't want it to like become a burden. Like you're waking up at 5 a.m., you like dreading it. So just kind of like just having fun while you're doing it.
Enjoy the process.
Yeah.
If you enjoy the process, then it doesn't become right. It's a muscle memory,
Yeah.
right? If you build a muscle memory, then it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
It's easy because I do it in my sleep because I do it every single day, right? So you can't shortcut this stuff, and I think you hit right in the head is once you learn those small components in life, it's not just going to help you if you're an athlete, but just in life in general, in your day 9 to 5, whatever
Mhm.
that may be. You just work hard and do be a good person and try to do the right thing when no one's looking. Then it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
What I think sometimes what happens, you see it is kids trying to do something. They try to do the right thing when someone is looking, but in
Watching.
reality, yeah,
Yeah.
we're watching. But at the end of the day, to me, it's like if
Yeah.
you do the right thing when no one is watching, it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
It doesn't look awkward when you're doing it. They be like, "Oh my gosh, look, he's," because he does it in the dark. He does
Yeah.
it by himself. He does it when there's one person in the gym. Now he's doing it when 500 people in the gym. So
Yeah.
I think just a mentality and work ethic you got to have. And I'm proud of him and what he's done so far. And we know he's not a finished product. He has a long way to go. But the good news for him is that he's going to continue to work. He's going to continue showing up, regardless of what the workout is. He'll be there and trying to get better. So that's a good thing.
Awesome. All right. That's a wrap.
Thank
Good.
you.